We start our debate. On behalf of the Hellenic Presidency of the Council of the European Union, we will now hear from Mr. Yiannis Michelakis, the Minister for the Interior of Greece.
Vice President of the Government, President of the Committee of Regions, President of the European Investment Bank, heads of political parties represented in the Committee of Regions, Madam Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, members of the European Parliament, members of the Greek Parliament, I too would like to welcome you to this 6th Summit of Cities and Regions, which corresponds with the 20th anniversary of the founding of the Committee of Regions. The role of the committee, following the Treaty of Lisbon, is a very clear one indeed. It is an institution which serves as a conduit for local authorities, for regions, to the Commission and the Council and Parliament. And also it plays a very important role as far as taking legislative initiative. Greece, for the first time after 7 years of recession, and contrary to prophets of doom, returns to a situation of growth. This corresponds with the Greek presidency and perhaps an exit from the crisis overall. Also marked in various statistic data, the crisis has affected unequally the regions of the European Union, creating more profound imbalances and inequalities between the various regions, as was seen in the last Cohesion report of the Commission, of the Committee of Regions. The crisis has once again created broader inequalities, particularly in the realm of employment. Unemployment from 8% grew to 27%. Among young people, as known to all, it has reached 60%, something which we hope no other European country will experience. The average Greek lost 38% of his standard of living in comparison to 2007. Furthermore, as mentioned in the memorandum for a joint strategy for Europe 2020, the risk factor of poverty, of course, has an important regional dimension. It's not only affected by education, labor conditions, labor circumstances, or the type of household. It is affected as well by the place where one lives. And as a country which has been hit as no other by the crisis, this is something we are very much aware of. We are also aware of the fact that the only solution is sustainable, viable, non-exclusion development and growth characterized by non-exclusion and by solidarity. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you a number of figures, because those were the negative sides. But let's see what we've achieved. Well, let's see what the Greek people have achieved. The Greek people who, with their sacrifices, have succeeded in 4 years in reducing the deficit by 13% of the GDP. In the international index of the OECD, Greece is in the first position internationally as far as the implementation of structural reform. And the results are clear. According to all studies that have been conducted, Greece already has re-won its lost competitiveness in compared to 2002. And of course, now we no longer have we now have a balanced balance of payments. We have our primary surplus for the first time in a number of years. for the first time, we have a surplus in the balance of running payments, something which had not been achieved in the past. In 2014, for the first time, we will have a recovery after 7 years of a horrific recession. But we are not delusional. There's a lot which has been achieved, but there's still a lot to do. We still have much to achieve. But we do now have stability, socially and economically speaking. In order to understand the magnitude of what we've achieved, allow me simply to say that Greece has the largest structural surplus in the European Union, in the Eurozone. What does this mean exactly? This means that if Greece Greece would not only be able to achieve payment of its running needs, current needs, but also to be able to cover any servicing of interest, and that there would be something left over in the end. That's what the surplus means. And for the first time we see this, we're speeding up the possibilities for growth and development so that in the future we can be rid of any need for support, and we will be able indeed to complete our structural reforms, because reforms are becoming much more easy to execute in this environment of recovery rather than an environment of critical crisis, of recession and negativeness overall. This we are overcoming right now. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to emphasize the fact that European cohesion is extremely important on this. European collaboration, cooperation, working together within the European family, working against negativism. It's very important for all of this to be emphasized right now in order to form public opinion, particularly in view of the European elections. Of course, we welcome warmly the Athens Declaration, which emphasizes particularly multi-level governance and the introduction of the territorial dimension in order to succeed in achieving the 2020 targets. At the same time, the Declaration of Athens emphasizes the importance of good practices, experience, and know-how between regions and cities, and also the importance of multilateral programs of cooperation, including, of course, the territorial cooperative programs between the various regions of the European Union. All of this is important for a mid-term change of the structure in order to bring forward to make a brighter future a reality. So we have to focus on research, technology, innovation, and of course infrastructure. Furthermore, with the declaration, we have an emphasis of the need to reorient ourselves towards elected authorities at the regional level. And I simply want to mention here that when a couple of months ago we visited the island of Kefalonia, as the head of that particular team, I requested from the Committee of the Regions an activation of the various funds and of boosting the electoral system overall at the local level. The aim was for there to exist cooperation between elected authorities to bolster the strength of these institutions, particularly in view of various possibilities of disasters, of natural catastrophes, for example, earthquakes and floods, where indeed there has to be a cooperation, where there has to be a concerted effort between local authorities. Furthermore, in the 2014-2020 period, what's been foreseen are 316 billion from the structural funds for political cohesion, including 6 billion for targeted actions in order to deal with unemployment, particularly youth unemployed, young unemployed, and 82 billion for research and innovation and new technologies. So the member states will direct their investments towards viable, sustainable investments, which will target economic integration and fight exclusion. All of these efforts have to be reinforced, and we've already seen the first signs of recovery in countries which have been very, very negatively affected by the crisis. So, we welcome the invitation from the European Investment Bank to increase technical support for local authorities and municipal authorities, and on a pilot basis to dispense loans to these authorities at the local and regional level, and all of this within the strategy, the 2020 Europe strategy. Of course, local authorities are closest to citizens. They know what the local needs are, and they're in a more advantageous position. They can define more clearly what the needs are, and they can assess the capacities that exist, the possibilities and the prospects that exist as well for development and growth at the local level, taking into consideration, of course, employment, the environment, education, health. They are in a position to decide what is best for people at the local level. And, of course, on the sacrificial altar of fiscal consolidation, we ought not forget, we ought not put in an even more detrimental position, if you like, the various services that are dispensed at the local level. We need, once again, this multi-leveled governance, and this, as emphasized in the Athens Declaration, is extremely important. It will play an important role as far as achieving that vision for the future at the local level, at the regional level, and at the national level. We want a European governance with a territorial factor as well, which will guarantee the Europe 2020 priorities, will coordinate at all levels the ever so important initiatives, and of course will respect subsidiarity in all ways and all senses, and of course will facilitate the implementation of ever so important programs to support our citizens, also which will also respect for the various idiosyncrasies of our member states, of our regions, of our municipalities, strengthen that sense of solidarity, of faith, furthermore, in this European vision, and the creation of a public European space protecting the fundamental rights of human beings and promoting a pluralistic society, promoting furthermore transparency in the decision-making mechanisms, and involving citizens in those decisions as well. And also supporting, this we ought not forget, know-how and good practices between member states, between municipalities, and once again, between regions. This is the multi-leveled approach. This is a vision for future. The future of Europe lies in its regions, in its cities, in its cultural diversity, and at the same time in a united effort of all citizens in order to achieve a Europe for all without any exclusion whatsoever. Let's hope that the Athens Declaration will be yet one more step in that direction, a direction which involves more Europe, and that is our common vision, our common challenge, and our common aim. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And my goodness, we've had some terrific